Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the Friday edition, rather, of the TVC Breakfast. It's day 2 of the protest, hashtag End Bad Governance protest. And definitely we are here to bring you up to speed with developments from across the country. I am Veronica Danikboye, and joining me this morning is Olamide.
Good morning, Veronica.
I wonder why I was thinking today was Tuesday.
Well, with what happened across the state
yesterday, it seemed like a Monday, right?
Maybe that informed what you were thinking anyways.
Anyway, but so many things, developments from across the country yesterday, and we will be looking at that. And then we're also looking at immigration fraud and EFCC's effort to tackle that. But let's begin with this story. Borno and Kano states government have declared a 24-hour curfew with immediate effect. The Borno State Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Usman Tar, says the state government is doing all it can to ensure law and order is maintained in the state following ongoing protests against economic hardship. And in Kano State, Governor Abba Yusuf declared curfew after looting of government property began.
The risk of infiltration of any peaceful democratic protest by our citizens, the risk of infiltration by violent non-state actors is always there, and it has already happened. In order to avert any future infiltration by violent non-state actors, the Borno State government has taken a firm decision to impose the curfew.
Indeed, it was at the risk of infiltration, according to the government of the protest. That was why they went ahead to be proactive to impose the 24-hour curfew. And in fact, what we saw, the pictures we got, wasn't really pleasant at all. When you see the looting of shops, businesses, burning down of property, especially in Kano, where the NCC office was burnt down, and they came out to say that millions of naira are destroyed. And that is why a lot of persons have been saying that as much as you want to air your grievances to government, you do not have to destroy structures that the government put in place for your own benefit at the end of the day, not just for you, but for the benefit of all the people in the state. And now those are gone up in flame. Businesses that were looted yesterday, I mean, these were our fellow Nigerians who also are feeling the impact of the whole economic situation that these persons are complaining about, and the majority of Nigerians have been complaining about. But what has this brought to them now? You have gone ahead to loot their businesses. Is that also a way of telling government that it is because you did not do what you wanted to do? I'm looking at my neighbor who is also struggling, and I decided to loot his business. It's a sad one, really.
And what happened yesterday points to the fact that we most likely have not learned our lessons from the NSAS protests. There's so many apart from even government facilities, government-owned structures were burnt at that time. But let's also talk about, the effect on the individual businesses that were also, attacked yesterday. There was also a market bombing, especially with persons who have their own personal businesses, and you decide in the name of a protest to loot those businesses.
I mean, what does bombing have to do with the protest?
And it's very evident, and it's confirming the fear of the security operatives just before this protest, that according to intelligence, it's possible that some unscrupulous elements will try to take advantage of the protest.
And
that was what happened, especially in states like Borno, where even our correspondent was almost attacked, and in another correspondent, that's Abdul Latif Yusuf, who was also, attacked by so-called protesters who are now regarded as hoodlums at this point.
One of our colleagues was attacked. They took his phone.
And so it seems
then
that
he was threatened with a knife. Why are persons going to a protest with such kinds of weapons?
It will seem as if this is no longer about a protest asking the government to tackle hunger, tackle poverty and all that, they have taken advantage of the protest. And like the IGP said, it is better for them to stop the protest and go through dialogue.
But this is day two.
The use of dialogue has not been exhausted.
Unfortunately, these persons are not willing to listen to the matter of it is better to end the protest, because they say they want the government to listen to them. They want the government to hear them. I recall the Minister of the FCT saying yesterday that government is open to dialogue, and that is not even the first time that we're hearing government saying we are open for dialogue. But then these persons just want to go and protest. And now, how do you want government to listen to you if you are not tailoring your ideas to government in such a way that you can have a roundtable dialogue and then you can exchange ideas and government tell you, okay, this is what we can do now and this is what we can't do. And also looking at, okay, yes, you have put forward your demands and you believe that it is when you stand to protest, the government will understand that you are saying or driving home your point. But how much impact is this making? How is this getting the result you want? I mean, look at those pictures. This is not nice to see at all. This is Kano.
No longer a protest. This
was, I think that's the NCC building that was brought down, and
that's the government house.
The government house,
Kano.
right? So that they were trying to quell the fire at the end of the day. I mean, that's an infrastructure that was put in place. Why are people trying to destroy that? Does that really bring the result to the demands you are requesting? And I mean, I think we need to sit back as a people to really look at how we can drive home our points. You mentioned NSAS. And the question a lot of persons have been asking, what are the lessons we have learned from NSAS? Did we get the result at the end of the day from NSAS? The country or the president has said, you have a right to protest, but how it should be within the ambit of the law. It was an unfortunate thing yesterday.
Well, the government has also always reiterated the fact that you have a right. It's a right of every human in a democratic space to protest. But let's not forget the burden or the role of the security agencies in protecting that right. They also have the duty to protect other citizens who are not involved in this protest. They also have the duty to protect other property. And so where your rights also, begins, where your right stops, the right of another individual also starts. And so they have the burden or the responsibility.
Of course, they came out to say that they have reinforced themselves. They were prepared for the protest. They were sharing intelligence beforehand, and they said they were willing to provide protection for the protesters. But how cooperative were the protesters with the security agencies?
I will say they were really not cooperative. As so many of them even flaunted the court order yesterday, this will most likely stem from a lack of trust on the part of those who were part of the protest yesterday. Many of them, even in Lagos State, did not, abide by the court order restricting them to particular locations. We had our correspondents across part of the state who, talked to us about the fact that even these protesters were also making demands. Well, it was managed in Lagos State, even in areas that were not, provided for them by the court. Early in the morning, just when we started the program yesterday, said many of them had converged at the Keja, which was not part of the designated areas to have this protest. And also when we spoke to the police PRO yesterday, saying that Eagle Square they've not been cleared to use the Eagle Square for the protest. And
but the protesters insisted.
But the protesters insisted. And so this would have worked better. This would have panned out better if the protesters at least had listened to some of the guidelines or, the rules, put out by security operatives ahead, because they said they had intelligence as regards the fact that some persons might be taken advantage of. And I will not even doubt that at this moment.
Oh, of course. So I believe that yesterday lessons were learned from the incidents that happened, knowing that it's important to cooperate with security operatives that is their responsibility to ensure that these persons are safe at the end of the day. They provide security. They are able to identify and, arrest unscrupulous elements who are taking advantage of the protest. So as much as we go about our protesting today, it's important that we cooperate with the security operatives so they can carry out their duties respectively. Unfortunately, yesterday, a security personnel lost his life. Some of them were said to have been injured in the protest as well. So also there were reports of some persons who were arrested, some persons who were also killed as a result of this protest. So it's important that we look at how we can ensure safety as we go about protesting.